now. There are some local stories to touch on, and then a league-wide one that I can't wait to get to personally. But I want to start off with the team that I'm a fan of so that you can get your chance to make fun of my team for a little bit before we get into the opposite to close out the segment. The New York Giants had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last season, and they went into this draft with the expectation from fans that even with at least some sort of draft capital, even if not premium draft capital, that the position would be addressed in some manner. It was not. Whether that was a decision by Dave Gettleman, Joe Judge, a combination, the whole front office, the brain trust, whatever it was that resulted in this, and I have my theories that we'll get into, they did not exit the 2021 NFL draft with a single offensive lineman in a year that has already been deemed a make or break year for their quarterback. In a season where they've invested heavily into weapons for that quarterback to not have, as many excuses for poor performance as he did in years past. What are your thoughts on the team's addressing or lack of addressing the offensive line position in the draft after, just clearly still being a need there?
This is a very frustrating thing for me to comprehend, coming from a fan of a team who has predicated their success on an incredibly strong offensive line. The New York Giants, despite signing Ken Golladay, Speed Boy John Ross, Kyle Rudolph, already having Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Ingram, and releasing Golden Tate, did not address the offensive line.
I love how releasing Golden Tate was listed as a weapon.
That's a weapon. Yeah, I don't know. That's
no, because it is. It was. The team is better now.
The team is better without him. I will give you. But in the draft, the Giants go wide receiver Kadarius Toney from Florida. Okay. Now I understand the whole, he's too talented to pass up on. I get it. Okay. So I don't blame them for doing the whole best player available strategy. It's definitely not the worst idea you could do, but to go out and just with a straight face, just say, we're going to pick a wide receiver when you've lost Kevin Zielitzer, he's gone to Baltimore. Andrew Thomas was not super impressive to me. Shane Lemieux is not anything special for an offensive lineman, at least from my perspective. And the Giants have too many weapons already. Why do you need more? Okay, you have, I just said, Golladay, Shepard, Slayton, Ingram, Rudolph, John Ross, and now you added Toney. There's too many things. And Barkley's coming back.
I was going to say, you haven't even mentioned.
Barkley's coming back, and you have to protect him too. That is literally your franchise, perhaps, I'd say. I mean, you're the Giants fan, so
under center there, quarterback and running back. I would say that's a pretty important sect of our team there.
Because they're gonna Danny Dimes is gonna be Danny passes away in the backfield by getting sacked.
Oh, brother,
it's gonna be horrible. Poor Saquon Barkley. Now I did draft him for my fantasy team this past year, and unfortunately the ACL happened.
Yeah, rough.
Bears, which, by the way, the Bears trade, fantastic trade. That was a really good trade on Gettleman's part. You got a lot in return for that pick. But to not take an offensive lineman, man, and that's a glaring need, and Zielitzer is gone, and Andrew Thomas is okay. I mean, Will Hernandez is cool, but he can't be the only guy. And I just named the rest of your O-linemen that I at least know, and the rest of them are just, they're so bad I don't even know them. So I don't know how Daniel Jones is going to be Daniel Jones this year. I know that they did the weapons, and he's got a chance to succeed, but you also have to understand something, Chris. Jason Garrett is your offensive coordinator. Now, how is this for a Jason Garrett impersonation? Ready? How is this? Good job. Good job. Good job. Yeah, good job. Run that play next time. Good job. How's that? Is that a good impersonation?
Yeah,
Unfortunately, clapping does not generate you touchdowns in the National Football League, Mr. Garrett. So that needs to be addressed. He has stuff to work with.
Huge, if true.
He's got stuff to work with. And we know that Joe Judge, he's got his defense figured out. I know that Adoree Jackson is your second corner. Then the rest of your draft, you picked up Azeez Ojulari, which was, I thought, a fantastic pickup because your linebackers, they're solid, but I feel they could use a little help. I thought that was a good pickup. And you also got 2 cornerbacks, which is also going to help your already fantastic secondary. And then you picked up another running back to add behind Barkley. So the Giants definitely addressed holes that were there, but you can't ignore the big problem. And the offensive line is probably the most critical position to win in football, other than having a secondary and a field general linebacker, like a pass rush play caller back there. So it's hard for me to gauge because they added a lot of good talent, but at the same time, I'm concerned for the health and well-being of Barkley and Jones, and it's the make or break year. And you didn't give any of them an offensive line. Chris, you better pray to whoever you practice your religion to, because I'm going to let you go. I'm digressing from this convo because I need to let you go on that. I'm digressing.
I'm going to take the angle here that I've taken just in my own thoughts about the philosophy that went into this draft approach. I think that in year 1 of Joe Judge's tenure here, it was clear that he had at least some portion of the reins in regards to, final say, roster control, all that. I think that showed itself again this year with the trade downs. Gettleman wants to make his teams better. He's going to draft with the highest pick that he has. It's not like him to trade back. They did it twice. That means something to me. That popped off the screen to me. Now, for the New York Giants to leave this draft without any offensive linemen because of the leeway that Joe Judge has earned as a program builder, a talent evaluator, says to me that between how high they were internally on Tony, Ojulari, I mean, they just thought those were 2 great picks at those spots. The fact that they were at, 42 and then traded down to 50. And still got their guy.
That's pretty good. That's a win.
Great stuff.
It is.
They were at 11. I just know Gettleman wanted to take Slater so bad.
He did.
But Judge, I think, might have won out. Now, I say that because a video came out of Gettleman looking a little frustrated in the war room after the pick was in. So maybe that's not who he wanted. I think he thinks they have their joystick weapon in Saquon, his guy that he drafted. I get the little conflict there. To go from being at 11 to 20 and then have ammo for a potential trade up next year if you need to replace Danny, for a potential, just slew of roster improvements if Danny is good and you want to upgrade, your team across the board. You have assets now, and you walked out of the first 2 rounds addressing 2 positions of need, in my opinion. I think the Giants still needed to invest long-term at wide receiver. It's why I was so in on either Waddle or Smith at 11. Neither was available. That's why I'm okay with us trading down, going and getting someone who they think can be a real good football player at 20 and acquiring extra picks to do so. I think that they just didn't see a situation any of the times that they were on the clock where they could walk out of that pick having taken an offensive lineman and where they were able to say to themselves, we got the player that we liked most on the board there. I'm of the opinion that the draft is for taking the best players there and having them cost controlled, and that free agency is for paying to plug holes. So I understand the Giants just getting the guys they wanted on the team long term. The problem is that they didn't go in free agency and address offensive line, which is why it was still in need for the draft. Now, I think we're going to be having a different conversation about their O-line if they are able to get a veteran that shakes loose around the league, someone who doesn't fit after training camp or right before it or wherever where they are. They can get someone like that, a veteran player who's good at their position and can join our line. I think we're having a different conversation because then you got that guy, and then you got Ojulari, and you got Tony, and you got all the extra assets. You're in a good place.
Well, here's the thing.
A line is as good as its worst guy. The Giants need to go out and find a veteran to plug into the line so they can have a certain level of competence across the board. But I say I'm huge on the trenches in football. Got to have a good O-line. I think they need to address the position still.
So here's the thing that I'll say, because in the NFL, if you're going to get a above average offensive lineman, it'll definitely at least cost you, I want to say, anywhere north of a 4th round pick, and perhaps a decent enough player, because in the NFL, the 32nd pick of the 1st round could be like a top 10 pick in the NBA. That they're like gold. So you have to be mindful and conscious of where and who you're trading with and what you're getting back and cap hits and all of this other stuff. So I don't know how much they're going to trade for O-linemen, because it's definitely like odd to see that happen during a season. And I understand it can happen during training camp and preseason, and it's definitely possible that they go out and try and sign someone. But the line with the Giants, it's weird, because I was talking about Andrew Thomas just a couple minutes ago, right? And I said, I'm not that impressed with him. And I'm truly not. I think he's blah right now. But then against the Cleveland Browns, he holds Myles Garrett to virtually neutral. Like, where did this come from? Shane Lemieux was there on that line with him that night because Zieltser and Will Hernandez, I think, were hurt for that game. They held that Cleveland front, and now they didn't win. Obviously, they got destroyed because, well, A, it's the Browns, and B, Nick Chubb ran all over the Giants. But then there's games like that. So I'm kind of wondering, are they playing up to their competition? Are they playing down to their competition? What is the deal with that line? That's what I just want to know. Hopefully, like you said, they do need to bring in an adult, if I can use that term for the offensive line. They need to bring in an adult to that team. Now, I don't know who it could be. Could it be, I don't know, let's say the Chiefs, like Mitchell Schwartz gets cut for some reason because he just doesn't get healthy, or Eric Fisher is still magically available because the Chiefs just redid the whole O-line this year. So I don't know, maybe they cut Eric Fisher by some random reason. I doubt it happens, but if that's the thing, I would go ahead and sign at least one of them because they're just free players for you. And it would definitely help step up the Giants offense. It would help Danny Dimes. And Danny Dimes, I don't think he's a proficient quarterback in anything. He's definitely not, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not incapable of making a basic read and hitting an open receiver. He knows when to do play action, make a scramble. Like, he's not that incompetent of a quarterback. He knows what he's doing. Right. And we've seen teams get away with that. We look at the Rams with Jared Goff. I'll use that an example. A fantastic team around Jared Goff with the O-line, the weapons they gave him, and a fantastic defense. Now, maybe that's the route Gettleman wants to go with Judge. I don't know. Is that the route I want them to go? No, because the quarterback, they needed to not have Jared Goff in that Super Bowl. If they didn't have Jared Goff, if they had Matthew Stafford at that point, now they would have beaten Tom. They
could have won that. Yeah, they could have won that.
Easily would have beaten Tom Brady. I have no doubt in my mind, because that Patriots team was they were on the verge of a collapse, and then it happened the next season. But is that the route the Giants go? I don't know. It's hard to gauge because everything is so dependent on that O-line. And like I said, I'm a Green Bay fan. I've been a fan for a long time of them. Aaron Rodgers does not get the Super Bowl ring. He does not get 3 MVPs. without an O-line. Okay. Gotcha. And I am passing that on to you. Hopefully you can call David Gettleman someday and be like,
yeah, let him know.
Draft lineman, for God's sakes. You have Barkley, who is literally your franchise.
Yeah. He's about to get paid too.
Your assets.
Got to protect it.